Alright everyone, welcome back. Here we're just doing the ECS post insertion checks now. So I'll go ahead and get the checklist queued up. So the big thing is the primary glycol evap temp out indicator should be between 40 to 43 degrees. Let's take a look. Primary evaporator temperature outlet. It's a little bit high, but we'll take it. Steam pressure should be 0.097 to 0.145 psi if boiling. So basically between here and here. Look good. The next thing we want to do is bypass the reservoir. We'll be flying the rest of the mission with the glycol reservoir on bypass. And that is to preserve coolant in the event of a leak. During the launch, because there is no means of active cooling, radiators are bypassed, evaporators are switched off during a big portion of the launch. We keep this glycol reservoir in the loop so that there's more volume of coolant, more coolant for heat rejection purposes. But once we're in orbit, we'll bypass that because we don't need it anymore. Active cooling takes over. It's efficient enough without the reservoir. And then if we encounter some kind of leak, we don't lose all of our coolant. So that's very important. Radiator flow control, power to on. The system just regulates flow through the radiators. That's pretty self-explanatory given the name. And we're going to push. The radiator primary outlet should be below the primary inlet temperature, and we could see that that is very much the case. If this was not the case, we would have to bypass the radiators again and keep cooling with the active system before starting flow through the radiators again, or we could risk damaging the system. But those are doing okay, and we've got a gray talk back on our ECS radiator. Now we'll click on the heater for the radiator just to ensure that it doesn't freeze up. Heater for our potable water so that that doesn't freeze up. And then we'll activate the automatic temperature controller for the primary glycol evaporator. This system here evaporates water, and it does that by having a primary loop, a closed loop of water glycol, and then a heat exchanger to water which is held within the waste tank, and then that is sent to a sublimator for evaporative cooling. Our wastewater and urine dump heaters will go close on the circuit breakers, and the drink water supply valve will go on. After that, that pretty much completes the ECS post-insertion configuration. So the big thing there is that little thing about the glycol system, and we pretty much won't be touching these ever again. So they're kind of the one-time use unless in emergency type knobs here. So we'll get a more in-depth look at the environmental control system when we do the redundant component check, but for now that's sort of the cool little interesting fact of this tutorial is that glycol reservoir. The next few stages are things just installing the coas, mounting your ordeal. Click points for those are there on that little bracket and here on this little bracket. If you wanted to, you can cap your altimeter and your G meter just by clicking them. And then if you wanted to as well, a little bit early, you can also mount your optics if you have time. The rest of the checklist here, down to the next part, is going to be procedural to the mission. It kind of changes, so it's not something that I'll go over. And that sort of stuff will be covered in a future tutorial, like the battery vent through system test meter and the vent knobs over there. So it'll get touched on in a future, so nothing to worry about there.